All right, so on this sheet that's part of your notes, I'm not going to say a whole lot about this. Essentially, please read it, pay attention to it, and follow the graphing rules. The graphing rules are on the bottom. You can't see them in this frame right now, but if you look at this section right here that I'm now pointing to, where it says there are 2 types of graphs that will be used in this course. I need to get a pen to be able to point. Hang on. It says parts A and B. Okay, and line graphs versus bar graphs. So that's what we're typically going to use. I mentioned something in this in the notes that are about science and scientific processes with graphing, but I realized after the fact I didn't say anything about continuous versus discrete data. So a line graph is for continuous data, a bar graph is for discrete data. Continuous data means that the data somehow changes over an interval. What I will tell you is that there's a huge misconception that the x-axis has to be time. The x-axis can be something else that changes, right? Like light intensity, concentration of something, okay? So there are other things besides time that can go on the x-axis of a line graph. It has to be some sort of change, okay? A bar graph is for discrete data. This is data that's grouped into different categories for comparison. You can have a single bar graph, double bar graph, triple bar graph, okay, depending on what's on the x-axis versus the y, and maybe you have a key if you get to a double, triple, whatever, bar graph, okay? So that is for distinct categories for bar graphs versus change over some interval for line graphs. When you're constructing your graphs for your first graphing assignment, you need to follow these graphing rules, okay? So you're being given a sheet, or you were given a sheet that has a graphing space in it. So that graphing space is essentially, that's your graph paper for number 2, okay? So make your data fill that space, right, the best that you can, okay? You don't want to put it just in the tiny bottom left-hand corner where I can hardly see what's going on, okay? Follow all of these rules, right? Your origin does not have to be 0, 0, okay, if 0 is not involved on one of the axes. Like say you start with something that's, in the thousands, okay? Like say you're graphing data over time and years, and it's 1984 is your first year. Well, there's no reason to have 0 as time on there. The origin has to be labeled though, okay? And then when you get to the other sheet, hang on, I'm just going to switch this really quick instead of pausing the video. When you get to this sheet, it gives you some examples of some things, okay, that you want to pay attention to, right, and use to construct your graph. And then there's an example graph down at the bottom, okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. Show me greatness with that graphing.